There's a kind of hypnosis that takes hold of you out on the blacktop, deep in the heart of the country, deep in the heart of the night. It's not sleep, not exactly. It's something else. The world shrinks down to the two yellow lines your headlights are chasing and the steady, reassuring rumble of the Cummins under your feet. Mile marker after mile marker, town after forgotten town. You become part of the machine. The hum of the tires on the asphalt becomes your heartbeat. The hiss of the air brakes, your breath. For 20 years, I've been chasing those yellow lines, from the smog of LA to the salt-stung air of the East Coast. I've seen things that would make a city boy's hair stand on end. Freak blizzards in May, desert mirages that look like a whole ocean, the northern lights dancing over a frozen Montana pass. But nothing, in all my years and all my millions of miles, has ever burrowed under my skin like that one stretch of I-80 in Nebraska.
It ain't much to look at in the daylight. Just endless flat fields of corn or soy, broken only by the occasional farmhouse sitting a mile back from the road, a lonely island in a sea of green and gold. But at night, that stretch of road changes. The sky gets bigger, blacker, the stars feel colder, and the road itself seems to hold its breath. Fellow drivers talk. This particular 50-mile section had a reputation, not for potholes or speed traps. It was just unlucky. Guys would talk on the CB about a sudden chill in the cab, about phantom headlights in the rear view that would vanish when you looked twice. Most of us just shrugged it off. Ghost stories. I was no rookie. I'd heard it all. So I never paid it much mind. Until the first time I saw him. It was probably 2, 3 in the morning. Not another soul on the road. Then my headlights caught something. A flash of movement way out in the field to my right. It wasn't an animal, too slow, too deliberate. It was a man, a lone figure silhouetted against the dark earth, holding what looked like a shovel. He was a good 200 yards from the road. No house, no barn, no tractor anywhere in sight. Just this man digging in the dead of night.
The first time, you write it off. Maybe his pickup is broke down just out of sight. You're doing 70 miles an hour. It's a snapshot. You forget about it. But a couple weeks later, same run, same time of night, there he was again. Different spot in the field, but same silhouette, same slow, methodical motion, digging. This time, a little shiver went down my spine. This wasn't normal. The field's out there for planting crops. You use machinery for that. Tractors with blinding lights. You do it by the sun, not by the moon. This was different. This felt like a secret. Over the next year, seeing him became a regular thing. It was like he was a permanent fixture of that road, a human mile marker. Sometimes I'd see him digging. Sometimes I'd see him lowering something heavy and pale into the ground. Once, my headlights caught him as he was standing up, tamping the earth down with his boots. He never looked toward the road. It was like my truck, my world, didn't exist to him. I started to feel a strange kind of dread building up, because in the dead quiet of the cab, a question started to form in my mind. A question I couldn't answer. In those flat, empty fields meant for growing corn, what in God's name does a man plant at night?
The road has a way of wearing you down. It's a warn of attrition. After seeing the lone digger half a dozen times, the sight went from being a weird curiosity to a dark omen. My mind started playing tricks on me. That stretch of I-80 started to own a piece of my sanity. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in October. The fields were all harvested, leaving nothing but bare, dark soil. I was tired, pushing to make a delivery in Shushan by morning. As I entered the unlucky 50-mile stretch, I braced myself. I scanned the fields to my right, looking for him. Nothing. For a moment, I felt a wave of relief. Then, it happened. It was a flicker. Red lights directly in front of me. Brake lights. A car had to be just 100 feet ahead, moving much slower than me. I cursed, my heart lurching into my throat, and I stopped on the brakes. The air brakes shrieked. My whole rig shuddered. The trailer threatened to jackknife. The smell of burning rubber filled the cab. I fought the wheel. It came to a grinding, violent halt. And there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. The road ahead was empty. No car, no taillights, nothing.
My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I sat there for a long minute, my hands shaking. I've been driving for 20 years. I know what I saw. I had to pull over. After what felt like an hour, I limped the next 10 miles to a dingy 24-hour truck stop called the Prairie Light. I sat at the counter, a mug of black coffee in my still shaking hands. The waitress was an older woman with a face like a road map of hard times. "You look like you seen a ghost," she said. I almost laughed. Something like that. Nearly put my rig in a ditch back there. Swore I saw brake lights, but nothing. She stopped wiping the counter and looked at me. A long, hard look. "The Boneyard stretch, huh?" "The what?" "That's what my granddaddy used to call it," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "This whole section of highway, they say it's hungry. Lots of folks check out on that road. Bad accidents. People fall asleep at the wheel. Never find a reason why. They just drift." My blood ran cold. "I've heard stories," I managed. "Stories are just smoke from a fire, honey," she said. "The road remembers what happens on it, and sometimes it wants more." I took a deep breath.
Listen, this is gonna sound crazy, but for the last year, driving this stretch at night, I keep seeing a guy out in the field digging. Her expression didn't change, not a flicker of surprise. She just nodded slowly. "Ah," she said, as if I just described something as common as the sunrise. "You saw the farmer." "The farmer? Who is he? What the hell's he doing out there?" She picked up my mug and refilled it. "He ain't farming corn. He's tending the road." "Tending it? By digging holes in the middle of the night?" She put the pot down and leaned on the counter, her eyes dark and serious. "Every time there's a bad one, a fatal accident, he goes out there. He finds a stone from the fields, a big one, long and flat like a headstone, and he plants it." She paused, letting her words hang in the still, greasy air. "They say he's not burying bodies. He's burying what they leave behind. The part that doesn't move on. The echoes, the ghosts. He gives them a place to rest, a piece of ground to anchor them, so they stop wandering onto the pavement, so they don't try to get a little company." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "He's planting tombstones?" I whispered. "He's planting peace," she corrected me gently. "Keeps the Boneyard from claiming another soul. You're lucky he's out there, especially on a night like this." I left the Prairie Light with the waitress's words echoing in my head. He's planting peace. A folktale. It had to be. But I couldn't shake the memory of those phantom brake lights. For the next few months, I did everything I could to avoid that run. But you can't run from a road. Not in this business. A run just before Christmas. A priority load. There was no other route. I'd be hitting the Boneyard stretch around midnight. This time, the dread was a physical thing. I decided I couldn't just be a passive observer anymore. I had to know. I pulled my rig over at a rest stop about 5 miles before the stretch began. I killed the engine, and the silence was deafening. The plan was simple and stupid. I was going to walk. I grabbed the powerful flashlight, zipped up my jacket against the biting wind, and started trudging along the highway's shoulder. The cold was brutal. The occasional truck would roar past, plunging me back into darkness and silence. My world shrank to the narrow beam of my flashlight cutting through the black.
After walking for what felt like an eternity, I saw it, far off in the field to my right, a tiny flickering light. Not a flashlight, but the soft, warm, unsteady glow of a kerosene lantern. It was him. I cut my flashlight, my heart starting to pound, and veered off the road. The frozen earth crunched under my boots. As it got closer, the scene slowly came into focus. In its golden circle of light stood an old man. He had to be in his 70s, maybe older. In front of him was a freshly dug hole, perfectly rectangular. Next to the hole lay a massive piece of granite, long and flat on one side. It looked, for all the world, like an unmarked tombstone. He was on his knees at the edge of the pit, his bare hands working the soil, smoothing the sides. His movements were slow, patient, filled with a strange kind of reverence. I crouched down behind a small rise in the field, maybe 30 yards away, and then I looked past him, and my breath caught in my throat. In the faint starlight, I could see them, all across the field, sticking out of the dark earth like broken teeth, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, other stones, just like the one he was about to bury. It wasn't a random collection, it was a cemetery. A vast, secret, silent cemetery where nothing grew but stones. The cold I felt now had nothing to do with the wind. This was the cold of absolute, terrifying belief. Because looking at that field, I knew, with a certainty that froze my soul, that the stories were true. For a long time, I just stayed there, watching him. Something in me broke. I stood up. The farmer froze, his head slowly turning towards me. I just started walking toward him, my hands raised slightly. "I'm not here to cause trouble," I said. I had to see." He nodded slowly. "Most just drive by." "I've seen you," I told him. "And the other night, something happened. I almost crashed. There was nothing there." Again, he just nodded. "The road gets hungry," he said. "It gets lonely. The ones that get left behind, they don't mean no harm. They're just confused. They replay the last thing they knew. They reach out. Sometimes the driver reaches back." He gestured towards the dark field. "This land's been in my family for 100 years. My father grew corn here, fed the living. I feed the dead." "Why?" I asked. "My wife, Sarah, and my little girl, Emily." His voice cracked. 40 years ago, a kid fell asleep at the wheel of a grain truck right out there, hit him head on, and they were coming home from town with ice cream. The story hung in the freezing air between us. For a year after, he continued, I'd see their headlights. I'd run out, my heart full of a fool's hope, and then they'd just fade away. One night, a trucker ran his rig right off the road, said he'd swerved to miss a woman and a child. I knew it was my Sarah and Emily, lost, pulling others toward them. So I came out here, found the biggest, heaviest field stone I could lift, dug a hole. I told Sarah, this is your place now, your stone. Stay here, rest. And I buried that stone. And the nights, they got quieter. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. Soon after, there was another bad wreck, and I started feeling that same restlessness in the air. So I did it again, for him, and I've been doing it ever since. So every stone, I whispered, looking out at the dark sentinels, is a soul, he finished, a soul that died on this stretch of asphalt. This one, he patted the cold granite. This one's for the salesman from Omaha. Last Tuesday, rolled his car 3 times. Leaves behind a wife and 2 sons. He needs a place to rest before he starts flashing his brake lights at people. My blood turned to ice. Last Tuesday, he was talking about the phantom car, the lights that almost killed me. It wasn't my imagination.
It was a final, fading echo of a man's last moment on earth. And this old farmer was the only one who could hear it, and the only one who knew what to do.
I didn't stay much longer after that. I helped him. Together, a tired old farmer and a road-weary trucker slid that heavy stone into its final resting place. When it was done, he began to shovel the cold soil back into the grave. I walked back to my truck in a daze. The world felt different, thinner. The highway wasn't just a strip of pavement anymore. It was a river of souls. I never told anyone the full story. Who would believe me? From that day on, I never avoided that stretch of I-80 again. The fear was gone. It had been replaced by a profound and heavy sense of respect. Every time I drove it, day and night, I'd look out at that field. Sometimes I'd see a patch of fresh-turned earth and my heart would ache, because I knew what it meant. I never saw the farmer up close again. I'd see his lantern sometimes, a tiny, defiant star in the vast darkness, and I'd know he was out there, continuing his lonely, sacred work.
It's become a ritual for me now, a private one. Whenever I approach that 50-mile stretch, I turn down my radio. I go quiet, and as I pass his field, I reach up to my console and I flash my high beams, off and then on again, dipping the lights. It's an old trucker signal, a sign of respect, a way of saying, I see you. I don't know if he ever sees it, he's probably too focused on his work, but I like to think he does. Or maybe I'm not doing it for him, I'm doing it for them. For the salesman from Omaha, for the young man on the motorcycle, for a woman and her little girl who just wanted some ice cream. A small acknowledgement from a passerby, letting them know they're not forgotten. So if you're ever out there, running I-80 through the heart of Nebraska when the world is asleep, and you get to that long, quiet stretch where the sky seems too big and the road seems too lonely, keep your eyes on the fields. You might just see a lone, flickering light. Don't be scared. It's just an old farmer tending his strange and terrible garden. He's just keeping the road safe for the rest of us, one soul and one stone at a time. And if you're smart, you'll reach up and you'll dip your lights.